Hello everyone. This is the one of the most important videos on gRPC. So we have already covered what exactly is gRPC and how gRPC is helpful in compressing the data and sending data between client and server at much faster rate compared to HTTP. We have also covered in the previous video on Protobuf that how Protobuf helps gRPC in compressing that data. But who uses Protobuf in day-to-day life? Of course, it's used by gRPC, but in our day-to-day life, in our projects, what we'll be using is gRPC. That is, we'll import gRPC in our project and then we'll use it. So I have used one of the most common examples. I have used one of the most common languages, Java. I have used one of the most common frameworks, Spring, and I have used one of the most common dependency management tool, Maven. Yes, so I'll import the gRPC dependency using Maven. I'll code in Java, I'll use Spring Boot application, and then I'll demo a server of gRPC by exposing an API, and then a client which will communicate with the server, and server will just throw the data. So for example, the client will give a request and server will say, hey client, this is the response. So a basic client server communication with the help of gRPC, and this will help you in the coming videos for more advanced topics like how does the streaming work, how does the streaming work from client to server, server to client, or bidirectional. But that's for this advanced topic, we'll get into the next video. But for this one, it will be the basic client and server traditional communication, they both throwing data to each other. So without much ado, let's get started with the coding. So now we are starting with my favorite ID, IntelliJ, and I will go and create a new project. Let's name it gRPC demo, and then have a Java version 18. You can have anything you want to, and let's have a maven project. Create a project. Now I have a project with me, as you can see, public static void main, nothing special here. Going to the pom.xml for the dependency management. So the first thing I will do is to add some of the properties. So these properties can be constant. So the Java version I can add as 18, and this is the gRPC version I'm going to use, 4.7.1. And let me find out the dependency of gRPC. So I have that dependency with me already set up. You can find out the same in Maven Central. So this is the dependency of gRPC, Spring Boot Starter. This dollar sign is nothing but it uses the variable from the properties, and then we need to use the plugins as well. So this plugin will help us in building the protobuf. So this is like a compiler which will compile. So let's first compile the same. So we'll go to Maven, and we can compile from here, and you can also have a mvn clean install or mvn install, whatever you want to. I'll ignore this error or the suggestion for now. So you can do from here or there, it's one and the same thing. Now I'll add the nature of the project to Spring Boot. So for that, what do I need to do? I need to add the Spring Boot annotation in my project. So I'll add it like @Spring Boot application. And then I will have the Spring Boot application start in my project. So Spring Boot application dot run, and here I can give the main dot class and the args, the arguments which are being passed to main class. And now when I run it, this project has got the nature of Spring Boot. So if I run this project, so you can see now, let's wait for it to get compiled, and yes. So we can see that it has got the Maven nature. Now let's add the proto file. So by proto file, it's the same file which we talked about earlier in the Protobuf lecture. So I'll just go ahead and create a proto folder. You can have any folder you want to. There is nothing like specific, but it just should be in your class path. So for example, this proto folder is there in the class path. Let's name the file as order.proto. You can again name this file anything you want to, and this will get compiled later. So let's have a bunch of things. So for example, the first thing is the syntax, that is proto 3. Thereafter we'll add bunch of options like when the files are generated, they are generated in multiple Java files. I'll have a custom package of my project com.anubhav. Okay. Or what was my project name? It was org.example. So let's name it org.example. So when the files are created, they will be created with this package. And now create some messages. So message student request, which can have an ID, so that client will throw, hey server, give me student with ID this. So this is the ID, and then the student response, message student response. And let's have two things here. The first we can have is name, string name, and the second we can have as integer, and that can be age 2. So there are two different messages which we have declared now in our project. Now let's run mvn clean install, and this will convert the proto file messages to the Java class files. Now let's add the generated class file to our target folder, to our source folder. So we'll go to this project structure, and then we'll add these generated classes to our dependency. So just go and include it. So right click, and then we'll just add it as included and click on apply. Now, if you put student request in your file, you can see that you are able to import those packages and use those classes. Now what we'll do, we'll create a package for servers. So new, and there is a package, and I'll name this package as server. And then let's click on enter, and then let me add a new Java class. I can name it as server again, and this will be by gRPC server. So for that, I'll just annotate it with gRPC, where is service, gRPC service, and I need to extend the gRPC service written in Protobuf file. Oh, till now I have not written the gRPC service. I have just written the gRPC messages, that's the Protobuf request and response. I need to write my services in Protobuf file. So it is service. This is what the syntax of the service is. Student service. And here what I need to do is that I can have various services here. So if I do Control S, and then again I can have a mvn clean installer from ID anywhere. So when I do this, now if I come here and do extends student service base implementation, so now I have this gRPC service which I can extend and use. So the proto file again generated that service for me. But of course, you need to have more construct here in the service class. So we can have those constructs like get student, the basic API, and it will take student request and it will return student response. So this is what the syntax of service is in a proto file. So when I do this, and now I need to compile my code again to start see the results here, so that I can implement it. So again, now I'll compile my project from here. or whatever you can compile from here as well as you know from your terminal as well. So sometimes I like to do from both the places just to be doubly sure. And yeah, I don't like these red colors coming in, the errors coming in my terminal. So I have had both the things. Now the service or the method which I declared was get student. So I just need to write that method which is there in the base class, basically override that method, and then I can do the magic. So the method which I declared, let me think what was the method name, or what I can do better is go to this service simple base, and this is the method. You see, I can just copy this method and I can just override this method. That will be easier for me. It's very hard to remember all these syntax anyway. So just copy it and remove the default implementation and override the method. So what I'll do is I'll just remove the default implementation, and now you see that there are two things. One is request and the other is response. So I just need to deal with these requests and response now. Now let's declare a student response. It's a mock response. You can have whatever. So student response equal to student response builder, new builder dot set age. Let's set it as 10, and then there was this name, I think. Yeah, set name. Let's name it Anubhav again, and then dot build. It's a simple builder pattern. You folks can go out and check it. So now I have a mock response with me, and what I can do is I can have a response observer object, and then I can give my this response object here. And all I need to do is to mark it as on completed. So this will give the data to the client. So this is the code for the server. It's quite straightforward. You just get a request and you write the response. Let's have a logger as well so that we can log stuff. So we have this logger. I think SLF4J would be the one which we can use. So logger factory dot get logger, and I can have this server dot class itself here. Oh, okay. So we need to import the SLF4J logger. I'll just delete it, and then I can go ahead and import the needed class. All right. So we have a logger. Let's log the request and response. So I'll log the request. So got request equal to, okay, what I can do is I can do equal to plus the request. Okay, yeah. So I have a request, student request. So got request dot get ID. So this is the request, and this is the response which I'm going to send. So this is the server code which is there. Now let's write a client code. So the way we have done the server code. Now imagine the client would be running on a separate machine. So they would again have a protobuf file already shared. So let's have a client.java. This is a client running on another machine where the proto file is again shared. So let's have a public static void main for the clients. PSVM, it's a shortcut for public static void main. And now I need to somehow communicate with the server. So this is, remember, this is the client running on some other virtual machine, some other machine. And from there, I need to communicate to the server using some channel. So now I'm going to write the things which are specific to gRPC to communicate to the server. So now this was a server, and this is the main class which people can run. So if I run this server, and let's see on what port it is running. You see it's running on 6565 port. So this is the port my gRPC server is running, and now my client, which would be there in some other machine where the proto file has already been shared. So now this needs to communicate to this 6565 port. So first of all, I'll create a manage channel. Manage channel is equal to manage channel builder dot address. So this is a local host. I'm running everything on my machine, but of course you can go ahead and have interaction between the servers as well. And then 6565, it's a port. And then use plain text. And again, the same builder pattern which is being used here. And now what I need to have is the student service, the reference to the student service, because I still have the proto file with me. And this is the service stub which I have with me. Should be blocking stub, because this one is the basic implementation which we are talking about, the plain request and response. So student service gRPC dot new blocking stub. So this service, we have the reference already, because the proto file is already being shared between client and server. Now I'll use this blocking stub to make all the calls. Now I'll use this blocking stub dot get student, and then I will have a student request dot builder dot, let's set the ID as 1, and then I can build this. All right, so dot build. So basically I'm trying to get the student from the server. So this is the client code which will run, and it gets the reference of the service. So it's like a method call. You are making the method call, but it is actually a remoting call which is being made. So that's also an interesting notion. So now let's add a logger. Just like we added logger there, we can add a logger so that it will be easy for us to see what has happened. You can feel free to use system.out.print, but this just gives us more flexibility for timestamp and more things. That's it. Okay, again, I think I added a different dependency for logger. Let's just fix it. Yes, so let's remove this Apache logging and let's just follow what is being recommended by the IDE. Logger logger and import class. And now we can use this logger here. Logger. Okay, I think I need to make this static logger, because this is a static method, so I can only access the static member variable. So logger.info response, and then I can have get name plus get age. So I'm making a function call, but internally it is a API call which is being done using gRPC, and I'm able to get the response. So it's so much easier to code once you have a setup ready with you. So now I run this code, and now you see that there is a response Anubhav and 10 which is coming from the server. So the server got the request, and this is how the client is able to send the request. Thanks for watching the video. In this video, you have seen how to implement gRPC based client as well as server in Java. I have used the simplest example of a blocking stub where a client interacts in a blocking way to the server. The default port was 6565 of a gRPC server, and the calling of these APIs are as simple as calling a function. So you call a function, but internally it makes an API call. So once the setup of gRPC is done for you, that is the client is set up, the server is set up, the protofiles are set up, then after that it's just a matter of calling the functions. So very interesting stuff. I'll keep on posting more videos. In this particular video, I tried a different approach where I made sure to have very concise information. So I'm hoping this video will be around 20 minutes. Let me know that does this approach work for you, or do you want it to be more elaborative? and then I'll inculcate those things in the coming sections as well. Thanks again for watching, and do comment or let me know what did you like or what you want more to be added, and I'll keep on adding such videos at least for in the coming days every week. Thank you.